all know that concept of hypothesis is one of the most interesting part of the chapter research aptitude according to the UGC Net syllabus, and we have already discussed each and every topic of this chapter in detail. So if you have missed my previous session, so just go and check my first comment and my description box where my all previous sessions links are already provided. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Tutelage, a guide to learner. Here this is Sriparna. I hope all of you are doing good. So today we are going to discuss one of the most interesting part, that is concept of hypothesis. Okay, so if you like my video, so please do one like, share and comment, and please do some support and subscribe my channel for getting more useful session. So let's get started the session. So here we can see the concept of hypothesis, and at first we have to discuss what do you mean by a hypothesis. So hypothesis is basically a tentative statement. Okay, so it is basically a proposition in a testable form, and it predicts the relationship or association between two or more variables. So basically hypothesis indicates association or relationship between two or more variables. I think this is clear. So if the researcher thinks the relationship or association between two or more variables exists, so he should first state it as a hypothesis and then test the hypothesis. In the field of knowledge, in the field of application. So I think the concept of hypothesis is clear. Basically, the hypothesis is a tentative statement and it predicts a relationship between two or more variables. Now going to the next topic, that is how do we use the hypothesis. So at first we have to state the hypothesis. Okay, so now going to the next step, that is data collection, and after data collection we have to analyze the all collected data, and now going to the last step, that is testing the hypothesis. So I think this is clear. How do we use the hypothesis? Okay, so now coming to the next concept, that is functions of hypothesis. So here we can see our first function of hypothesis, that is it brings clarity, it brings precision because it predicts relationship or association between two or more variables. So now going to the second function, that is it facilitates the formulation of theory. So it helps to formulate the theory. So that's why hypothesis facilitates the formulation of the theory also, and it provides a direction to the research by defining different types of variables because it predicts a relationship or association between two or more variables. So now coming to the next function of hypothesis, that is it enhances the objectivity. Next one is it prevents the blind research also. So all of the functions of hypothesis are very much important. So it enhances objectivity, it facilitates the formulation of the theory, it provides a direction to the research by defining different types of variables, and it brings clarity, precision, etc. So I think this is clear. So if you have any problem on it, so please do one comment in my comment section. I will reply you positively. So now going to the next concept, and that is some characteristics of good hypothesis. So here we can see some characteristics of hypothesis. Okay, so first characteristics is it should be act as a stimulus to a research because it predicts the association or the relationship between two or more variables. Hypothesis should be act as a stimulus to research. Now going to the next one. So next one is it should be simple and conceptually clear. Okay, so going to the third one, that is it is a verbal statement because same thing, it predicts a relationship between two or more variables. So I think this is clear. The concept of hypothesis is clear because hypothesis is basically a tentative statement, and it predicts the relationship or association between two or more variables. Now going to the next characteristics, that is should be future oriented. So again the same words, it predicts a relationship. So that's why it should be future oriented. Now going to the next one, it should be able to enhance objectivity. So we have already told in the functions of hypothesis, it enhances objectivity. So now coming to the next one, and that is it should be verifiable and it should be able to prevent blind research. And we have already told it prevents blind research is one of the most important functions of hypothesis. I think characteristics of hypothesis is clear to everyone. So now coming to the next topic, and that is types of hypothesis, and which is one of the most important part of the concept of hypothesis. Okay, so hypothesis is of two types. The first one is null hypothesis and the second one, that is alternate hypothesis. So at first we have to know what you mean by a null hypothesis. So basically null hypothesis is the base of the study. Okay, so that indicates there is a no difference between two or more variables. For example, we can say there is a no difference between the effect of drug A and drug B, between the two types of medicine like paracetamol or metronidazole. Okay, I think this is clear. So basically null hypothesis indicates there is a no difference between two or more variables, and it is denoted by H naught. So that is H0 or H naught. So I think this is clear, the concept of null hypothesis. And now going to the next one, and that is alternate hypothesis. So alternate hypothesis is denoted by H1. So here we can see already. So what do you mean by a alternate hypothesis? So alternate hypothesis is exactly opposite of the null hypothesis. So I think this is clear what is the difference between null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis. So basically alternate hypothesis is considered to be a true when null hypothesis is rejected. Okay, so null hypothesis indicates there is a no difference. Alternate hypothesis indicates there is a difference. Now going to the some different types of hypothesis. Okay, so the first one is declarative hypothesis. So at first, what do you mean by a declarative hypothesis? So such hypothesis is used to declare the relationship between two or more variables. So that is called the declarative hypothesis. Now going to the example. So for example, we can say skin problems or skin disease are caused by chemicals in the makeup products. So basically these hypothesis this hypothesis is basically used to declare the hypothesis, declare the relationship between chemicals in the makeup products and the skin problem. So I think the declarative hypothesis is clear. So now going to the next one, and that is directional hypothesis. So basically hypothesis is of two types, directional and non-directional. So at first we have to discuss the directional hypothesis. So what do you mean by a directional hypothesis? So basically directional hypothesis indicates the direction, obviously. So such hypothesis indicates the direction of the difference between two or more variables, that is called directional hypothesis. On the other hand, such hypothesis indicates the relationship or association between two or more variables, not the direction. So that type of hypothesis is called non-directional hypothesis. So we have already told what you mean by a directional hypothesis and non-directional hypothesis. Now coming to the example of the directional hypothesis. For example, we can say drug A is not effective than drug B. So basically that type of hypothesis is directs the relationship between two types of drugs. The example is basically going to the perfect example of the null directional hypothesis, because drug A is not effective than drug B. Now going to the next one, and that is here we can see alternate hypothesis. So drug A is more effective than drug B. So that's why it directs the relationship between two types of drugs. So I think directional hypothesis, null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis is clear to everyone. And now going to the example of the non-directional hypothesis. And for example, we can say there is a no difference between effectiveness of drug A and drug B. So basically it indicates the relationship between two or more variables, not the direction. So that's why it is the perfect example of the non-directional hypothesis. So learner, we are done for the today's session. If you like my videos, so do not forget to like, share and comment, and please do some support and subscribe my channel for getting more useful session. I will come again with a new topic, new session. Till then, stay tuned, stay connected with me. Keep learning, keep commenting. Thank you.